Okay, so I don't normally do this, but this evening is one of my last nights in Turkey, and it's just been a really interesting evening. We've had amazing experience here so far, and um, we recently had someone come and share with us about what they're doing as a part of the church, and um, I don't know. I just feel like I have to log this in some way, shape, or form because of the impact it's had on me in the last couple of minutes. So, here in Turkey on a New Testament tour with Andrews University as part of the seminary. And it's just crazy because the person who came to speak to us this evening has been with us for a number of days. So we've been able to interact with them on more occasions than just them sharing their testimony in terms of what's been going on and how they're involved in the church at this point. Well, what was described to us was a situation where a church that was in, I believe, Istanbul was closed because it was originally opened about 25, 30 years ago by a couple and a couple who lived in America. And I don't know if you know, but in Turkey, spreading a religion is not permitted. It's illegal. So whatever you are, that's what you stay. You're not allowed to go around converting other people. If people ask about it, then that's how you're allowed to do it. But evangelism is like against the law. Well, even though Turkey's like not a Christian or Muslim country, it's secular. But if you look around, like there are Muslim mosques all over the place where there used to be Christian churches and whatnot. Even in current Christian churches, there are a lot of Muslims that have taken over in the last 1,000 or so years when the Muslims came and invaded this area. Okay, so back to the story. So the guy came this evening and they shared with us about how they became Christian and they married someone who was Seventh-day Adventist in particular. She was Seventh-day Adventist. And he didn't become Seventh-day Adventist because of his wife, but became Seventh-day Adventist because of his study and his search of the scriptures and whatnot on his own, not having to do it from somebody else. So he became Seventh-day Adventist, and they have children now who are also Seventh-day Adventists who have been baptized. But because evangelism is almost impossible, and because of the laws that are here, the church in Istanbul actually had to close because the way that it's associated with anything, the way they can keep the building is having it in someone's name. Well, the owners, since they're in America, they had to claim it. Well, they've passed in the last couple of years or so, and their children. He doesn't know if they're Seventh-day Adventist or not, but they actually are no longer willing to support the church. So the church no longer exists, and they've been battling with the courts and the government for a number of years about getting the church back so that they can have one in Istanbul, because right now they don't have one. Well, they have one in Smyrna and Izmir, and it's not really a Seventh-day Adventist church because they can't open up another church because of the rules of not being able to open up new churches, whether it's Christian, Muslim, whatever denomination. There's none of that allowed here. So what they've decided to do is list it as an association, which is bizarre to me, and it's crazy because we don't have these issues in America, but I have them here. And so they've listed the church under as an association, and now in Turkey they have this one church in this one area. And I think he said from week to week it varies, but they have about 40 people that come, not all who are Seventh-day Adventists, but who hear about the Sabbath message and are really excited about hearing it and want to be able to understand what it is that's so great. So they've opened the church up. And he was just telling more about his story and how he goes to work during the day and he comes home at night and he does things for the church, but things are hurting right now for them because they don't have the money, they don't have the resources, or anything like that. But what they do is, and what they ask for is their prayers and support from people all over the world who are willing to help out. And I don't know, I guess it's just kind of interesting to me, a couple of reasons, because, well, it's one, being a seminary student, as a youth ministry student, I don't always get the opportunity to be able to study the theology and all the type of stuff that comes with being in the seminary. So I kind of missed out on that, but being here has been a completely different experience because I'm with people that I'm not normally with, and I'm learning things that I wouldn't typically learn in youth ministry. In addition to that, it's kind of interesting because I feel like being an American, and it's not everybody here, but we're so spoiled. I feel like we're like spoiled little brats that have come to this country just to get some education and to cross off some information about having whatever on our for the classes that we need and credits we need completed, just to say that it's done, rather than being in a situation of really being devoted and adamant and, I don't know, just really gung-ho about whatever it is. I feel like it's just something else we've done. Ooh, let's go see the world. And maybe it's just me. But I feel like I feel like that way. And I remember there would be times when we would be on the bus and he'd be pushing us, come on, we need to hurry, come on, we need to do this, we need to do that. And some of us would kind of like just blow him off as if what he had to say was nothing. And then hearing his story tonight, it's like, this guy is doing so much for the gospel. And sometimes I'm not really doing anywhere near it. You know, like, I'm sitting here as a student that's preparing to be in ministry. And this guy is here doing ministry every single day of his life. And he's risking his life and his family just to be able to be involved in it. And it's just kind of crazy to me to think that, if anything, it's encouraging for me to see that somebody who isn't ordained or anything like that and is putting so much on the line that they could do so much. But even more so than that there's such a need that's here and around the world. And sometimes I don't see it. Sometimes I don't take the chance to, I don't know, just look around what's more than just happening in America, to see that so many people are dying for the gospel. There are people just like back then in the early 1st or 2nd century that are doing so much for the gospel to be able to get there. And sometimes I don't even see it. I don't even notice. I kind of like brush it off because I was raised in the church and I see these things all the time and it's not a big deal to me anymore. But after looking at his situation and all the things that he and his family are going through, just to be able to get people to come, risking everything to be able to have this. They don't have money, they don't really have resources, but they do these things anyway because they know that the message needs to get out there to these people. And it's just crazy, even more so than that Christianity started here. It started in these areas. It was here thousands of years ago. And because of time and just, I guess, a lackadaisical attitude and arguments of what is and what isn't in theology, things just have not gone, I guess, the way things may have been planned in the beginning when Christ left to go back to heaven. And I don't know what God has in store for everything, and if this was the way things were supposed to be. But I do know this. After meeting him today and spending this week with him, I'm looking at things in a completely different perspective. And I know from time to time, things like this happen and you see people and you just get convicted and your heart you just want to pour out your heart and give them all you have and everything else. But I don't want this to be an experience that I've gone through and heard about and hasn't changed my life in a way that would make me want to do something or just be all that I can to make sure that this message of what Christ has done for all of us, that it happens, you know? Like, we can't do everything. He was saying that he needs someone to be able to be a webmaster to help him with the website. And I can't say that I can do that, but I can pray for them. I can't see if my friends are available. I can look around to see what things I can do. And even in my own area, I'm doing things in youth ministry. And sometimes I'm lackadaisical. I have a lackadaisical attitude about how things go. And I'm like, oh, so whatever. I'm just nonchalant about it and don't really take it seriously. And that can't happen. There are people who have died before me just so that I can have the opportunity, not just to study, not just to be able to go to the seminary, or anything like that, but there are people who have died for the sake of me being able to know who Christ is. And I don't think of things that way. I don't look at it that way. And that has to change. It has to change. And I don't know who's watching this. I don't know if anybody will ever watch this. I don't know if it's just me sitting here wanting to be able to share how I feel right now in response to the testimony he gave this evening. But I know whatever the case, whoever gets a chance to see this in the future, I just pray that that you're challenged, like I have been this evening, of looking at things in a different way and doing things that you can do as you pray and ask God to lead you in terms of where you want to go. I still am in awe that God has allowed me to experience this with all the things that are going on and with all the people and things that are against this man and his family. They've said, well, whatever, we're going to do this regardless because this is what God wants us to do. And we know people, when we sacrifice to be able to have this happen, people are going to be able to come to God because of the things that we're doing. So I ask that if you would pray for him. I don't want to mention his name because it's illegal to do what he's doing, and I don't want to put him in jeopardy. I don't know where this video is going to go. But I will ask that you pray for the situation specifically here in Turkey and other places like this area that where it's illegal to spread religion, where it's illegal to talk about Jesus openly, and where it's illegal to invite people to come to learn about Jesus. But I ask in spite of that, God is more powerful than any invitation or anything like that, that the message of who Christ is and what he can do for all of us and saving us and redeeming us and loving us until he comes again gets out there to everybody who wants it. The internet and media and technology that we have is such a blessing because we're able to use it as a venue to be able to draw people to Christ. So I just pray that one way or another, whatever decision God leads you to, as you look at this, that you will move in that direction and that you'll be prayerful about whatever it is, as I plan on being from here on out. Happy Sabbath.